Hi, this is Chris from Chris Loves Crochet and Crochet Recreations. And if you have two skeins of yarn, 250 yards a piece, you can make this set along with me. Stay tuned. Okay, I thought I would do something a little bit different today, and crochet with you the way I crochet by myself, which is to have a couple of whips going at the same time. So I like to work on one, I get a little bored or it's hard on my hands or something, and so I'll switch to something else and I'll switch back and forth. And so we're going to make a set, a slouchy beanie and a cowl. And these are, I purposely found some patterns, one of them is not really a pattern, but one of them is a pattern that I think are pretty unisex. And so this can be excuse me, this can be for a male or a female. I'm using purple, so maybe more feminine, and I'm going to make the hat size for a woman, but I will certainly tell you along the way how to make it for a man. So what we need is some yarn. And I got this from Darn Good Yarn. I had built up some bonus points, yay me, and I ordered a couple of hanks, and I just rolled these on my ball winder with my Swift. This is Old Dominion collection. That's 100% Virginia cotton. Color is cornflower. It is 100 grams, 250 yards, and it is a 3-ply DK weight. So I'm going to use a a 5mm crochet hook with this. It's machine wash, cold, delicate cycle, do not bleach, do not tumble dry. So I guess it'll shrink. So we need our yarn, whatever yarn you want to use. I'm using a DK weight. This is done by measurement, and so you could use a bulky yarn. You could use a 4-ply or a 4-worsted yarn. And so what I'm going to do, and hopefully you can with me, is I'm going to use a 5mm crochet hook, 'cause that's what I use with DK. I'm going to use a 5.5 to do the chain for the cowl, so that I don't get it too tight. I have a latch hook, so I don't know if you would need to go out and get one, or if you have one in your craft drawer because you did a latch hook rug one time. This is the easiest way that I have learned how to do bullion stitches, is with a latch hook. You will be so surprised how simple the bullion stitch is with a latch hook. So then, of course, we'll need scissors and bent tip embroidery needle. Let's see if we can get this all up on here. A measuring tape. And since we have two pieces going at the same time, we need 2 stitch markers. And so the first thing that we'll start with is I'll start you all off on the beanie. And so what I'm going to do is first take all this stuff off and out of the way. What I'm going to do, since I have 2 balls, I'm going to start the beanie with one, and then start the cowl with the other, because I am blessed with 2 balls. So before I do a beanie, I typically, if I haven't made them in a while, otherwise they kind of get stuck in your head, I'll pull up this Bob Wilson 123 online crochet tutorial. It's on bobwilson123.org. Claire did this. And it's just, I always keep this handy. It has all of the measurements for if you're doing a gift for a baby, a newborn, a baby, up into the toddler years, into the preteen, teenage, adult woman, adult man. All of the measurements for a typical size are on here. And then it tells you how to figure it out if you're just going to measure with a person in front of you. Tells you how to measure the circumference of the head, and then gives you an example of the math. So this is on bobwilson123.org. And Claire has had this out for a long time, and I swear by it. So let's see. So I'm going to make an adult woman. So the hat height should be 9 to 10 inches, and then the circumference is 21.5 to 22.5. So I will use my tape measure to make sure that I get to that. So the circumference is how big I'm going to make the and to make the initial, I'm going to start from the top and make the round to make it to be about 20 inches. I'm sorry, 22 inches, which is between the two. And then I'll just start with whatever I'm on. At that point, I'll just continue on and make it 9 to 10 inches. And then in order to make it a slouchy, you're thinking, that's just a beanie. Okay, so I'm going to make a beanie, and then I'm going to put like a 1.5 inch band on it. Maybe 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches. We'll just have to see when I get there. Probably about 1.5 inches band on it, so that there is extra beanie. And so that's going to make it a slouchy hat, I'm hoping. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll get you started on the other. So the first thing I do is make a magic circle. So first I pull the yarn through and make a chain. And now I'm going to do the hat in half doubles. The whole thing until I get to the band is going to be in half double crochet. And I'm going to do 10 at the center, to yarn over, get some yarn over, go into the circle, grab your yarn, pull it through, yarn over, grab your yarn, pull it through all 3 at once. So 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull it up, yarn over, pull through all 3. That's 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to need make sure that this tail doesn't get crocheted over as I'm doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it a little bit, because we need some tail left to pull it tight. How many do I have so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I grab the tail again and I pull it so that it's tight. And then what I'm going to do is do this in a spiral, so I don't have to I'll do a slip stitch and then chain 1 for each one, and I have a big ridge. And so what I'm going to do is do the spiral, and I just put my yarn as a stitch marker so I can count my rows, so I know when to increase on my circle. So I put that across, and then I do 2 in each stitch, 2 half doubles in each stitch, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 20. So I count as I go along with the 2s to make sure that I've got always at an even number before I go to the next stitch, so I don't accidentally put 1 in one. And then I get to this stitch marker, which is my piece of yarn, and let's see, I need to pull it back forward across the yarn before I start my next stitch. And now in this next round, I'm going to do 1 stitch by itself, and then 2 stitches in the same stitch. So I count this like as a waltz here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I go around like that. And so there's like 3 in each section. And then the next is 4, and then the next is 5, and then the next is 6. So when you're at the 6th row, you've got 6 in each segment, which means you go 4 individual and then 2 in the same spot. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you always know, if you can count your rows, you know which number segment you're on. So, or you can start with knowing that on the 3rd row, you have 1 stitch by itself, and then 2, and then 1 and 2. And then on the 4th row, it's 2, and then it's 2 singles and 2 individuals, and then 2 in the same spot. 2 individuals and then 2 in the same spot. So it depends on how you count them, but each time you go up by 1, how many you have in each spot. So pull that circle a little bit more. So that's how we go with that. And we're going to continue on with the spiral, never stopping, just always, when I get to the stitch that has the stitch marker in it, I'm going to bring it over again so that I can keep counting by the number of times it goes in and out, what row I'm on, and also it can tell me when I have to start a new row with the new increase without having to slip stitch and chain 1 and have a big ridge on my hat. So I'm going to put a stitch marker in here and hang on to that. Alright, so now I'm going to start you out on the cowl, and I'm going to have 12 inches just laying out here on my measuring tape, and use my second ball of yarn, and use the 5.5 millimeter crochet hook that I had pulled out just to make the chain so that I don't get it too tight, and I leave enough of a tail to weave it in at the end. So I do need to do this in multiples of 5 until I get to be about 12 inches. And then I'm going to continue the pattern row by row until I have about 24 inches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. That's about 12 inches. It's a little over. It's about 12.5 inches. Well, whoa, it's about 13 inches. And it's 50 chains that I did with my 5.5 millimeter crochet hook with the DK weight. So now I'm going to change to my 5 millimeter and put away the tape measure for now. So I'm going to change to my 5 millimeter, which is what I'm going to use for the rest of this project. And so we go to the fourth chain from hook and work 1 double crochet in each chain across. I am going to work in the back here. So here's the front of the chain where you see the V's. If you flip it over to the back, you see the humps. You see the humps on that? I'm going to go into the humps on the back, and that way it gives me an easier finish on this beginning chain, so that when I sew together the cowl, it's got a fuller stitch to sew onto. So I'm going to go to the 4th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, turn it over, find the hump, yarn over, go into the hump, grab my yarn, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I do that with the next one. There's the hump, go in there, pull through the yarn, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the hump, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So I'm going to just do this the whole way down. No need to count anymore. I've got the counted stitches already. So we'll just cross our fingers from here on out so that it's the right count. But 50 is definitely a multiple of 5. But any multiple of 5 will do. All right, I have a few left here on the end, a little more than a few. And since this is the foundation row, you could, if you know how to do a double crochet foundation double crochet, do that instead of the chain and then the double crochets in the back humps. I just find that the foundation rows, unless I have to do them, they take a little bit longer for me, and so I like to chain with a bigger hook and then just do the double crochet in it. But if you are a foundation double crocheter, go for it. Just do multiples of 5 up to about 12 inches. Or it could be even a little bit less, because see, once we crochet in this chain, it shrinks down a little bit. We take up some space. And so now it's right at 12 inches. So I started off with 13 inches, now it's at 12 inches. So if you do your foundation double crochet, it'll be at 12 inches. So that was the foundation row. So for the first row, we're going to chain 3, do the turn, do 2 more double crochet. That chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So I do 2 more. So I have 3 at the beginning here, multiples of 5. So I go chain 1 and chain 2, and then skip 2, skip that stitch and that stitch, and do 3 more. 2, 3, chain 2, skip 2, do 3 more. And that's the pattern for the first row in the repeat set of rows. Now here at the end, I've got 3 double crochet. I just chain 2. I'm going to skip 2 and then do 3 double crochet. There's 2 regular stitches, and then there's the chain 3 turning chain. So there's 1, 2 stitches. And then we want to do another double crochet in the top of this chain 3 turning chain. I try to get under 2 strands of yarn and leave 1 down on the bottom so that I don't disfigure that chain 3 too much. So it keeps its look there. So that was row 1 of the repeat. The next row is just chain 3, counts as a double crochet, turn, and then so start in the next stitch, because that first chain 3 coming out of that first stitch counts as that double crochet. So go into the second stitch and do a double crochet, and we're doing double crochet all the way across. And so I'll just meet you at the end. But just so that you know, I do not like to crochet in chains, so I'm going to crochet around the chains. So there's 3 in the stitches, and then here I have my chain 2. I'm going to put 2 around these, and then 3 more, and then 2 more around the chain 2. 2, 3, 1, 2. I'm going to do that all the way across, and I'll be back in just a second to show you the end and the next row. Okay, so I'm at the end here. I have 2 more double crochet, 1 in the last regular double crochet, and then 1 in the chain 3 turning chain. Get under 2 strands there. Make a double crochet. Now we chain 3 and we turn. This is our bullion row. So it's 1, 2, it's the third row of the 4-row repeat, is our bullion row. And a big space there. So that chain 3 again counts as a double crochet. Going into the second one, I'm going to do 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's just to start the row. We start with 5, we end with 5. Now I took my hook out, so I made a big loop. Got my latch hook, put it through, just like a crochet hook. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip one and go into this one. So I already practiced. Skip one and go into the next stitch, and we're going to do 3 bullion stitches there. So we're going to do 10 loop bullion stitches. So we're going to wrap around 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, I want to make sure that my latch hook is open. And I'm going to go into this, I'm going to skip one and go into this one right here. Make sure that that latch opens up as you go into the loop, so it's open, and we get 1 strand inside that latch hook, and that latches down on it, keeps it inside. And now I'm just going to pull that through all of these. I'm just going to pull it through and push the loops down over the latch, and you are almost guaranteed to get it to come out the other end without getting snagged on anything, because it is caged in the latch hook. So we want to do one more chain at the end to finish it. So put a yarn over into the latch hook closes, goes through that loop, there's your chain 1. So we do 3 of those. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wrap it around 10 times. Go down into the same stitch. Oh, make sure that your latch hook opens up as you go through. Lay your yarn across the hook, and then make sure that that latches over that 1 strand. Pull it back through the stitch, and then just drag it up through those loops on your hook, on your latch hook. Use my pointer finger and my thumb, and then I get it at the end, yay! And I push through the latch so that I go over one more time, latch closes, pull it through, you have your chain 1. One more time. Oops. Start that over again, I got hooked on myself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds. And then I scooch the yarn down a little bit so that I can reach that same stitch. So my latch actually kind of closes. But then when we go through, we want to make sure that it opens up. Go through, you leave these loops on this side of the stitch. You grab another yarn. You grab the yarn, make sure it closes inside the latch hook, pull it through the stitch, and then pull it through, drag it through all of those loops. Okay? So now in between each one of these, and again, don't forget, finish with a chain 1. Now, so that's the 3, so I'm going to go back to my crochet hook, and I'm going to skip one again. So you skip one before the 3 bullion, and you skip one after, and then I'm going to do 2 double crochets. 1, 2. And then I grab my latch hook again, and I do it again. I'm going to skip 1 stitch, go into the next one, do 3 bullion stitches, skip 1 stitch, do double crochet, skip 1 stitch, 3 bullions, skip 1 stitch, double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get some yarn, skip 1, go into this stitch, open the latch, leave all these on one side, the yarn in the latch, pull it through the stitch, pull it through the loops on your latch hook. It still takes time to do these bullion stitches, which is why I like to have another whip going, so after I do a row of these, then I can go do a row of half double crochet on the beanie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Push that down a little bit, get to that stitch, push it through and open the latch. You may have to help it. Push the latch through, put your yarn in the hook, close the latch over the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and then drag it through all of those loops. I've never understood how to do this with a crochet hook. I cannot finagle it through no matter how loose I try to make those bands. Anyway, that's my problem, but it works with the latch hook for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Going through the same stitch as our third one. Make sure the latch opens. Grab the yarn, pull it through all of those loops with that one yarn that's captured inside the latch hook. And then we pull it out, yay! And then we do a chain 1. Pull it out a little way so that you can transfer to your crochet hook. Skip 1 stitch, double crochet, double crochet. And you start all over again. So we've got this, we've got 5 double crochet, well we have 4 double crochet and 1 chain 3. So that makes it 5. You skip a stitch, you do 3 bullion stitches in that next stitch. Skip a stitch, do double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Skip a stitch, do 3 bullion in the stitch. Skip a stitch, crochet, double crochet, double crochet. Skip a stitch, 3 bullion, skip a stitch, double crochet, all the way across until you get to the last 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could use my stitch marker and just mark the end where their 6 is. So I know that I stop the pattern there. I skip this one and then do 5 double crochet at the end. Remember I said there's 5 on this side and there's 5 on this side. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bullion stitch sections in this width of the pattern. So it depends on how many stitches you did in your multiple of 5, what kind of yarn you're using. And I have to say though, if using the latch hook, it is so much easier, but I'm not sure you could use a bulky yarn with it. I dare say that a 4 might be the highest you can go. You might be able to do a 5. I don't know, I haven't tried. You try. So I'm going to finish this row and then come back and show you the next row. Okay? So keep working on those bullion stitches. Don't be scared. Just do it with a latch hook. It's easy. I'll be right back. All right, I'm almost done with the bullion row, and I miscounted. There's 8 sections of bullions. If you started with the 50 chain as I did, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of 3 bullions each. So I have just come up to my stitch marker that I put into the 6th from the last stitch. I'm going to take it out, leave it there, skip a stitch, and do 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 1 in the turning chain. Go in under 2 strands of yarn if you can. Okay, so that is row 3 of the 4-row repeat. So the first row was we had a foundation row. Then the first row of the repeat is the 3 double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, all the way to the end where you should end with 3 double crochet. The second row of the repeat is just double crochet all the way across. So you have 3 in the stitch and then 2 around the chain, and then 3 in the stitch and then 2 around the chain, so that it's a solid row of double crochet. And then we have our bullion, which is we start with the 5, we have 3 bullion, skip it, well, sorry, we start with the 5, skip a stitch, 3 bullion in 1 stitch, skip a stitch, 2 double crochet, skip a stitch, 3, you know, and then we end with the 5 double crochet. And now for the fourth row, simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, you deserve a simple stitch now after your bullions. Chain 3, that counts as a double crochet, and we just double crochet across. But we're going to be double crocheting inside or on the top of the bullion stitches. So, okay, so they want us to use this bar that is in the back of the bullion stitch, and since we just turned it over, it's on the front of the bullion stitch. So we're going to double crochet up to the bullions, and then we just go under this, kind of like a front post double crochet, and then pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over, go under that bar. I've never seen that done before. And now we're back to the double crochet. So make sure that you skip over this bullion because you already double crocheted in its bar. So now we do 1, 2, and then double crochets around the bar, around this bar. So we yarn over, go under the bar, grab the yarn, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That was the last of the 3 bars. So then I have 2 double crochets, and then double crochet around the bars. And I hope that bullion row does well for you. If you get confused, just I know I didn't show you all the way across, but you can always rewind, skip back and watch it again, or whenever you come to that row, watch that spot. That's what I had to do the first time I learned it, especially if I went a day in between, a day or 2, and get back to it. It's like, how did that work again? Just open up the video and go back to that section. I'm here for you. And we're at the end. Should have 5 easy double crochets. Well, 4, and then the 5th one is in the turning chain. So we have finished. This gives me trouble sometimes. The 4-row repeat for the cowl. And just keep doing it until you get about 24 inches. I would go longer than 24 if you're caught in the middle of the repeat rows. Like you get to that, then just finish up and get to the 4th repeat row, so you have one with double crochet all the way across. So that is our 4th. So we have foundation, then we have row 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so our next row is going to be the 3 double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, 3 double crochet all the way across. And then we have double crochet, and then we have bullion stitches, and then we have double crochet. Good. So keep working on that until we get through to about 24 inches, and then I will show you how to stitch them together to make a cowl, the ends together to make a cowl. I'm going to put that off to the side, so we're going to work on that until it gets to be about 24 inches. And I'm going to continue working on this little tiny hat. So I'm going to continue working on this on the spiral, and once I get to the diameter of head circumference divided by 3.14 will give us the diameter. So that's what we want to do. So I'm going to take the circumference of 22 and divide it by 3.14, and that will give me the diameter that I need to get to with this. So with this, so if I take, it's going to be 7 inches or something like that. So I'm going to continue on with the increasing spiral until I get to about 7 inches. I'm going to continue in a spiral, but then no more increases until I get the height, which you fold over from the center. And you get a height of about 9 or 10 inches. I'm going to go to 10 inches. So this is for a women's hat. So get to 10 inches, and then I will come back and show you how I do the brim, not the brim. I'm gonna do front post, back post, double crochet around to make the what am I trying to say? The end of the hat, beginning of the hat. So, and then we'll have a slouchy beanie along with a nice bullion stitch cowl. Yay! Yay! So keep working on it, and I will be right back with you. So I've been working on the beanie, and I got to 7 inches. So the circumference of 22 divided by 3.14 was 7.00 something. So I was going for 7 inches, and I got 7 inches on my the top of the hat. So I've got 7 inches. Now, if I was making a beanie for a man, then the circumference is 23 to 24. So if you divide 23.5 by 3.14, then you get 7.5. So you'd go another round to get to 7.5. Probably another round. Yeah, another round. So this was 9 rounds. So for a man, then it would be 10 rounds if you were using a 5mm and you had the same gauge as me with a DK weight. Otherwise, just go until you get to that. Now, I didn't stagger my increases, so you can see the little points. But since I'm going to continue on in a spiral, those are going to go away. So I didn't worry about staggering the increases. And so from here on out, I'm just going to go without any increases, and it's going to then just create that hat just going straight down. So what I'm going to do right now is measure the length that I have so far is 3 inches in length. So I go from that top hole and I fold it over. And I need to get to a length of 10 inches. So I have 6.5 inches left of the just regular. I'm going all the way to the 10 inches because it's a slouchy, and I want to have as much as I can. So with a man, it would be the same length, 9 to 10 inches. So if you're just making the beanie and not making a slouchy for a man, I'm not sure if the men like the slouchy. I don't know. You know who your gift recipient is. So if you were just making the beanie, then you would stop at the 9 or 10, maybe 9.5 inches in length, and then not put the band around it. So I'm going to go all the way to 10 inches and then put about 1.5 inches of the band around it so that it will be a little bit slouchy. So I'm going to continue on with that. I wanted to give you the measurements and what I'm doing. So I had 9 rows. If I was doing it for a man, probably 10 rows with a DK and a 5mm. And now I'm just going to continue on with half double crochet, just 1 in each stitch, and just keep spiraling down until I get it to 10 inches. And then I'll show you what I do. Okay? I'm back with the hat. And I have it at about 9.5 inches or so. And it's pretty long, 9.5, 9.25. It's pretty long already. So once I put on the band of the front and back post double crochet, it's going to be pretty slouchy. And so I left this stitch marker in that showed the increase rows of the top of the hat. And so that way I could just eyeball once I get around to the end of the round. And so I'll know when I need to shorten the stitches to even it out. So I've been doing half double crochets, and so now I'm going to do 2 single crochets and then 2 slip stitch. And then that brings the hat down to the regular spot. So now I'm going to chain 1, and in the same beginning spot I'm going to do a double crochet. And so we need to do double crochets all the way around before we can start front and back post on them. So I'm just going to do double crochet all the way around. There's no increase or decrease on this part. Now I did try on the hat when I got a few rows of the no increase, and it was a little loose. I guess my head's a little smaller. And so I just went around and did a decrease row. So I got all the way up to 90 around, and then I did a decrease so that I have 80 around. And so what I did was half double crochet in 7 stitches and then did a decrease over the 8th and 9th. And so I'm down to 80 around, just so you know. So I wanted it to be tighter, and because it's going to be slouching, I don't want it to fall off. A beanie, sometimes you just pull down, and so you don't need it to be as snug. So I'm just going to finish this double crochet all the way around, and then I'll come back and show you the front post, back post. Coming around to the end, and if you notice when I started this this row, I just did a chain 1. We are no longer doing in spirals. We will be connecting, we'll be slip stitching at the end of each row, and then starting the next row. So I did a chain 1 and then did a double crochet, and that way I've got a post, and I'm going to go around the chain 1 at the same time, and that'll keep it nice and even looking. So I'm going to slip stitch in this first double crochet, which is between the chain 1 and the double crochet. I'm going to slip stitch there, and then I'm going to chain 1, and then around the chain 1 and the double crochet, I'm going to do a front post double crochet. So go around, yarn over, pull through 2, just do a regular double crochet. And now the back post. So here's the next post, yarn over, go behind, up to the front, and then back, grab your yarn, come through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Front post, yarn over, go in from the front, around the back, grab your yarn, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, the back, go through the back, do a double crochet, and then go through the front, do a double crochet. So once I get around to the end, I'll show you when we come back, the last round probably, and how we're just going to continue on with this same stitch, and it's going to make a nice ridged band. Okay, so I'll get back with you when I get to the end. Coming around to the end, I'm on the back post, front post, and it should, since it's an even number, end on a back post. Should be an even number. And now we're going to, like we did before, slip stitch into the first double crochet, chain 1, and then again we're going to start with the front post, double crochet, and go around that chain 1 and the double crochet, and then do back post where the back post was. A little bit easier now that they're standing up and pushed back, to grab them and for the yarn to pull through. So if we do these 3 rows, then our band is going to be about that long. It's about 1.25 inches. So maybe I'll do 4 rows. That'll be 3 rows of the front and back post. To make it a little longer for a little more slouch, I'm going to go to a 4th row of double crochet, and I'll be back when I'm done with that, and we'll finish this puppy up. On the cowl, I have finished the fabric of the cowl with these cute bullion stitches running through it. I got to 24 inches just in time because I had about 3 yards left of the yarn, and so I cut off enough to attach the cowl ends. And so what I'm going to do, this is the front side, I'm going to fold it over to where the front sides are facing each other and the wrong side, the back side, is facing out. And I'm going to slip stitch. Oh, and I ended on a row of bullions, and I figured that was going to be okay because our foundation row is all double crochet. So it'll look like the pattern. So I ended on the bullions, and I'm going to slip stitch together. Oh, I took it out of the... I made a knot already. I'm going to undo my knot. So I have a loop to start with. Oh, sorry. So now I have a loop. Put my crochet hook through there. And I am going to start with the back loop only. Back loop on this side. Let's see, do I need to do that one? Yeah, so I probably need to go ahead and chain 1. And then go through the back loop of my first stitch here. If I can get to it. And the back loop of the first stitch here, which is, let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, it's right here. Hard to get started. So pull through, back loop, slip stitch. So at the back loop, so they're the two that are far away from each other. It's the back loop of this one, so it's closest to you. Back loop of this one, which is the farthest from you. And then pull through and pull through. And I'm going to do that all the way across to attach and make a cowl. So it took right at 250 yards for this. All right, well, I'm going to keep going with this, with the slip stitch across to the end. Oh, and when I get to the bullion stitches, you can see that there are V's on top of the bullion stitches, and you just skip the chain 1. So there are 3 bullion stitches, and there are the big V's. And you skip the little tiny V's that are between them. So I go to the big V, go to the back loop, go to the back loop of this chain. And you can see also that since we did the first row, the foundation row, in the back humps, that leaves us with the 2 V's. So if you just did it with a crocheted into the chain at the front, then you may not have a clean V to put into the back stitch. You may just slip stitch through the whole thing that's left there. But since I did the back humps, then that leaves the full V. Good grief, where is it? Leaves the full V to use to do the slip stitch in order to attach them. So I'm going to continue doing this. It's just at an awkward angle. It's not really this difficult for each one, and it should end up with the same, since it has the same number of stitches, as long as you watch it and you don't accidentally pick up one of the chain ones in between the bullions, then you'll be fine. Get 1 per bullion, the big V, and then you'll come out even. Alrighty, so I'll see you back here when I'm done. Finished slip stitching on the wrong side, and I sewed in my ends, and now I'm going to flip it right side out where you can see those great bullion stitches. And let's see, where was the seam? There's the seam right there. So we have a double crochet row before or after the bullion, just as the pattern shows, because of the one with the foundation row. So if you want to stop with that, if you run out of yarn like I did, you can stop with the bullion stitch row, or you can do another double crochet row, and then you have the 2 double crochet rows to connect instead of having to deal with the bullion stitches. But when you do the slip stitch with the back loop only, then you end up with this little ridge. I kind of like that, or inverted ridge, I should say. So there's our cowl, and that is done. And oh, I wanted to say that this bullion stitch, I don't think that I mentioned before. I don't have the book in here, but that crochet book, it's just called Crochet. I can't remember who did it. I guess I should be more prepared. Anyway, the stitch of the pattern was in that book. And so that's where I got the pattern of the multiples of 5 and the 4-row repeat. So if you have that crochet book, it's just called Crochet. And there's a first edition and a second edition. Well, there's a regular edition and a second edition. Anyway, that's where I got that from. And then I made it into a cowl. And then I finished with the beanie and finished the ribbing. So this is 4 rows of double crochet. The first row was just a straight double crochet, and then second, third, and fourth was front post and back post. And so we can see, I hope you can see, there's a good slouch on the back. Now if you want less of a slouch, because we did the front and back post, you can flip this up and have the band be folded over, and then it still has the band, and it has just a little bit less of a slouch, like a big slouch. And so what I'm going to do, I think, so I used up all of the yarn for the cowl, every bit of it. Let's see, my little head fell over. And then for the slouchy hat with the many rows and the band, I have this much left of the yarn. I think that's enough to make a pom-pom. I think it's enough to make a pom-pom. I'm going to use my pom-pom maker. I would be terrible at doing this, but I have this pom-pom maker that has 4 sizes. Oh, that one got broken. Anyway, I've got 4 sizes in here. I usually use this pink one to make a pom-pom. I'm not going to show you how to do it. If there's directions on here, you probably know how to make a pom-pom for yourself. I'll have a link in the description for the pom-pom maker and for the latch hook, if you don't already have one. And this is what I use to soak my stuff in, and especially like a cotton or 100% acrylic to make it nice and soft. It's wonderful, and it's a no rinse delicate wash. It's called Rapture with a W, and it's by Kristen Omdahl. So I'll have a link down in the description for these things, along with a couple others, if you are interested in getting them. So I'm gonna finish off there, and I hope you liked this experiment with the two items that you could crochet at the same time, trading back and forth between them. So you start off with two skeins of about 250 yards apiece, and you can do it too. So let me know in the comments if this was helpful, because you like to do like a set at a time and you don't want to have to watch a couple of different videos. Let me know what you think, and I hope you liked it, and thank you for your time. And we always have a choice, so please choose happy. Thanks. Bye.